So hello everybody and good afternoon. So we have noticed that COVID has really been a catalyst for change as we start to emerge from lockdown. And we really hope that the arts and the culture sector will use this opportunity presented to it to start making some positive changes and doing some things differently just to help with the rising youth unemployment, and as we're faced with the question of what can be done to give real opportunities and jobs to younger people and to make a more diverse workforce, we're really interested to hear the thoughts and opinions of our panelist members and their associated organisations. So this week we have a brilliant lineup of speakers and I hope you're ready. So let me first introduce myself. I am Julia, a trainee producer graduate and one of your co-chairs today. So I will be requesting that all my co-chairs and the panelist members to also introduce themselves in appearance, so that it will be able to help those that are visually impaired to engage with our webinar today. So I am a Chinese girl with shoulder length bob, which ends in partially brown dye at the very end. It's been coming out recently, and I have large blue dark glasses. So co-chairing with me today, we also have Lacy. So please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarisha. As Julia said, I'm one of the co-chairs. I am a creative producer at the EE at Emerging Exit Arts, and I am a black girl with my hair out and a, I don't know, like an orangey top. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. And next we'll also have my other co-chair, Thelma, who will be mainly monitoring the Zoom chat box today. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. My name is Thelma and I am a trainee producer graduate as well. So right now I'm wearing blue glasses and I've also got on black braids on the left hand side, purple braids on the right hand side. I am 5 foot short, not tall, and it's nice to meet everyone.
Perfect. And Thelma will be our main member who will be looking out at the Zoom chat box to see if there are any interesting thoughts or opinions or questions, and she'll collate them. And if we do have time at the end, hopefully we do, we will try to address some of them with the panelist members that we have today. Okay, so moving on from the co-chairs, we will be moving on to our first panelist member. So Shanika, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Shanika. I am a mixed race, black, got long dark brown hair, and I'm wearing a white top today. I am the Creative Engagement Manager for Emergency Exit Arts. And Emergency Exit Arts, for those of you who don't know, we're an outdoor arts company and we are celebrating our 40th year this year. So that's great, we've been around for a while. We specialise in bringing arts and a little bit of magic into the places where people live, work, play, learn. We're all about bringing arts into the community and engaging with communities to have spectacle and a little bit of magic moments where they are. That is often carnival processions, lots of big processions like that. We have big mechanical puppets that we might bring to events. We work a lot with festivals and local authorities, so we could be anywhere from Glastonbury to the St. Patrick's Day celebrations in Trafalgar Square. My work in particular is with young people in the communities. I actually became involved with EEA through a scheme that they run called Creating Roots, which was started in 2012 as a pilot scheme with the aim of diversifying the workforce in participatory arts, facilitators and those who work in community settings, to bringing Black, Asian and minority ethnic people who perhaps haven't gone to university or done a master's in education and arts, finding non-traditional routes into this sector. So I did that course And through that, I was able to start assisting on various projects for Emergency Exit Arts and for Talawa Theatre Company, who are our partner in running that alongside Goldsmiths University. That went on from me being an assistant to eventually working as a freelancer for those companies. Then I started teaching on creating routes, and from there I became a creative engagement coordinator for EEA, and now I'm the manager of that sector, that area of our work. I am really passionate about diversifying the sector, and working on the trainee producer schemes that we run is a great way to do that. We really believe in offering real life work experience, paid opportunities, because we are living and working in London, which is an expensive place. So we want to make sure that if people are giving their time and learning these things, that they don't have to miss out on anything by doing that. So we try to make them paid opportunities, expenses paid, and then that there are real opportunities to actually progress in our company and in our sector. So that's where I'm at, and I have a little bit of a presentation to show you, just a little bit about loosening lockdown for those of you who haven't been able to see some of the other webinars. So I'm just going to pop that up on the screen for us now, if you would just bear with me. Let's hope this pops up. One moment. And there we go. Let me know if you can see it, Julia.
At current, it's a black screen. If it's any different for anyone else, please shout out.
Great.
Okay, it's there.
Okay, I was scared it wasn't going to come up there, but we're here. All good. So let me just scroll down. So previously on Loosening Lockdown, so we've been having these webinars, which Francois, who is in our viewers today, was happily chairing for us. But as part of the sector almost agreement to start bringing in a more diverse workforce, he was bringing on some of our young trainees to help with chairing that, and has been sharing his expertise on how that can work. And then today, luckily, we've got these guys today to be doing that with us. So we've looked at lots of different things that we've learned throughout lockdown through these webinars. So thinking about how we might combine live and digital work, looking at some of the things that could be done at home. So things like the rainbows in windows, and people doing things on their doorsteps, and socially distant street parties, thinking about health and safety, thinking about the different local authorities' approaches to things, and how we thought that outdoors might be safer than indoors at first, and that there might be more outdoor performances allowed, which seems to be the case. Performance outside is being allowed first. And we've been thinking about art in a new context. Lots of things have come out of lockdown and this difficult time that we've been in. We've got a few of these up here. So Black Lives Matter, that was a really important time, thinking about how Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities have been hardest hit by the pandemic, not just in terms of deaths, but also in terms of relations with the police, more fines, more stops and search. We shall not be removed. So thinking about disability arts and the needs of making things accessible, to making art as accessible as possible. Has that been achieved in lockdown? Have more care been taken? Have more steps been put in place? Thinking about things like that. Save the Arts, the freelance task force. Obviously the arts in general, as well as outdoor arts, has been severely knocked by the pandemic. So thinking about how that has affected us, how we can band together, how freelancers are going to be protected. Culture needs diversity. So yeah, as culture emerges out of lockdown, diversity is more important than ever. And that's something that EEA stands by, and are really interested in making sure that that is a vital part of us going forward. One thing that we have been thinking about at EEA is this lovely picture of Rishi here getting his makeup done. They've announced a new Kickstart scheme. So looking at providing sort of apprenticeships or training schemes for those who are 16 to 24 on universal credit. So as our lovely chair said earlier, youth unemployment is going to be skyrocketing, and in fact I think it already has started. So what are the opportunities for the cultural sector there? Is there some sort of thing that we can come together, a scheme to provide these opportunities nationally, to think about if someone gets in touch with with some sort of website, or if there's some sort of functionality that can place young people who are interested with organisations in their locality that are offering this scheme. It's something that we've started to talk about and talk about with some of the organisations that are here today. All of our webinars are available to view from the website, and this webinar will be up on our website from tomorrow. And there's also information there about how you might get in touch with EEA. So please do. We're on social media, and you can get in touch with the website. We'd love to hear from you if you have any ideas about some of the things that we discussed today.
Lovely, thank you, Shanika. I must say I might be a little bit biased, but the youth program at EEA is incredible, and I've learned so much at my time in EEA. So next we have Titi, who is a youth manager and is from Coventry, and Coventry is the City of Culture for 2021. So Titi, do you want to talk a bit more about yourself?
Sure. Hello everyone. My name is Titi Dawudu. I'm happy to be called Titi. My pronouns are she, her. I am a woman who is British Nigerian. I have a multicolored head wrap on my head, and I'm wearing a stripy jumper. I can speak fast at times, so please let me know if there's something you've missed. I'm partially deaf, so I may ask anyone who is speaking to repeat themselves, or I'll put it in the chat box. I'm the program manager for young people and youthfulness at the City of Culture Trust. We're an arts organisation that won the bid in 2017 to be the City of Culture in Coventry. My role is for advocating for young adults who are 18 to 30 and engaging them in arts and culture in the city and across the Midlands. Outside of City of Culture, I'm part of Black Women in Theatre, and we have recently announced a redundancy package for Black, Asian and ethnically diverse people. And just to kind of say, if I'm speaking about people who are culturally diverse, I will either refer to Black, Asian or ethnically diverse. I don't use the term BAME or people of colour too much. So I actually created a book, an audition monologue book called Hear Me Now with Tamasha Theatre, and that was published by Oberon Books. And the second one is currently being done, and that's focused on Black, Asian and ethnically diverse people, actors who are deaf and disabled. So a lot of what I do is really advocating for young people and young adults. I used to run a charity, and I used to work at Oval House Theatre in London, and I moved to Coventry about a year ago because I just wanted to, one, work outside of London, because I was a bit in a London bubble, I think, and just really see what the arts is like for young adults and young people outside of London, and what kind of funding, what opportunities that there are that's quite different to London.
Okay, thank you, Titi, for introducing yourself and Coventry City of Culture 2021. I'm sure we're going to hear a bit more about that later. Next up, we have Tom Nelson from Beatfreeks.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name is Tom. My role at Beatfreeks is called the Head of Community, and I'll explain what that is in a second. But yeah, just to identify myself, I am a Black male. I am wearing glasses, curly, high toppy kind of hair. I'm in a comfy cardigan, if you want to remember me by. That's how I feel to identify myself. Beatfreeks is an organisation, we're about 7 years old, and we are what we refer to now is a youth agency, partly because we look to kind of fill in that stopgap, or almost be that mediator between different worlds. One side being of young people, amazing, undiscovered, marginalised at times, not given a voice, lack of opportunities, whatever that is for young people. We engage young people in opportunities of development, events, training, give them exclusive access to things. And on the other side, we engage and we work a lot with brands, organisations, governments, institutions, like education institutions. And for them on that side, we work with them to help gain a bit of understanding and insight of young people. A lot of their work they do needs young people. So we don't just set up things just as tokenistic ways. We really try and bridge that gap. And we recognise that young people want opportunities, a place to belong, a network, and many other things. And organisations want the flip side of that is they want to access young people, and we do it in a way that's meaningful. So my role is I manage a team. We call our network a community. So when we engage young people and they want to find out more, we used to be just Birmingham based, but we realized actually lockdowns actually enabled us to, it's been a launch pad for us. Actually, it's allowed us to transcend the physical spaces and actually engage young people wherever they're at. And by doing that, we give access to young people. So since lockdown, I think we've worked more than ever than we've probably done in the last couple of years. We've done projects, we've given young people a voice, we've put a report together which reflects on young people nationally, on their views of lockdown and COVID. We provide opportunities for projects where young people create campaigns, and this is all young people led and steered. And the aim is that the more that we provide opportunities for young people, the more we speak with organisations and brands, the more that they can shape and influence how their world works. Some of the things, as I mentioned, the projects we've done, we do some landmark events, so something that we cultivate is called the Youth Trends. So we're currently putting together national youth trends where we are getting the voice of young people across the country, and we will kind of produce that in a summit and a report. We also do events of creativity, which our first event was Poetry Jam, which we still do. And we also provide things like funding and very specific things that involve heritage and culture and other projects.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tom. It's really good to have some representation from Birmingham. And yeah. Next, we have Sarisha from Poets in the City. Do you want to talk a bit more about your role?
Hiya, I'm Sarisha. I run talent and development at Poet in the City. And in case you don't know, Poet in the City, we're an arts organisation that connects people and places with poetry and ideas. And we do that through producing live events and experiences, and also using poetry and poetic approaches as a tool for social change. We're based primarily in London, but we also work nationally through a project called Collections in Verse, which is in collaboration with the British Library. And we work in 5 different cities across the UK in libraries local there, connecting, commissioning work with communities and artists in those cities. And at Poet in the City, I run Poet in the City Producers, which is our youth talent development programme for emerging producers 16 to 25. It's a year-long training programme which supports the development of young people and also the poetry sector by improving employability and creating access into sustainable careers in the arts for young people outside of traditional pathways. So it removes, it's free, it removes any kind of socioeconomic or educational barriers to access, and it's all based on your ideas and your passion rather than what skills you have coming into the programme, because that's what you're there to develop and work on. Then following, so beyond producers, we work, we stay in touch with alumni and we work with them to broker opportunities that connect cultural institutions with ideas of young people, and also facilitating job creation as much as possible inside and outside of the poetry sector.
Okay. Thank you for introducing your sector and yourself, Sarisha. Did I miss out if you did your physical introduction? I'm so sorry. Did that? Sorry.
I think you missed that, Sarisha. But if you could tell everyone how you look.
Sorry.
Sorry, I've made a note about that actually, and I completely ignored it. I'm an Asian Indian girl with long, dark, black, brown hair and brown eyes, and I'm wearing a mustard yellow t-shirt.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry. And next up we have Lacy from Create Jobs. So please, would you like to introduce your appearance and then yourself?
Hi, I'm Lacy. My pronouns are she and her. I'm Irish, Welsh and white. I have a grey streak in kind of dark hair, and I have a lot of plants in my background, and I have a t-shirt that says Supernormal. It's a festival that I went to. And I am a senior relationship manager for Create Jobs. Create Jobs sits within a New Direction, who are a London-based nonprofit, and they generate opportunities for children and young people to unlock their creativity in London. I think most people would know a New Direction from the large-scale Tate Year 3 project we just did with Steve McQueen and Art Angel and Tate, with over 76,000 London school children, which is, it's had an extended stay at Tate Britain, so recommend checking out if you haven't seen it. It's been extended till January 2021. So Create Jobs is an employability programme for unemployed creative young Londoners aged 18 to 30, and we're transforming London's creative workforce by supporting and developing individuals who are underrepresented in the creative and digital sectors. And my role is really working closely with industry employers to devise free training programs and open up opportunities and networks for young people. Our programs are all free with subsidised travel and kit and software. And we work very closely with people from, we work very, very broadly across the creative and tech industry. So from photography to advertising to set design to event design. And then we also do a number of year-long internship programs. So we run a program with the London Legacy Development Corporation called STEP, which is the Shared Training and Employment Program. And that's a paired internship program with different employers where there's a 6-month placement with one, and then the young person moves on to the next placement. So we'll pair people who've got similar kind of roles, like LCF, London College of Fashion, and Worldwide FM, and then Pretty Bird. One placement will lead to another placement at 3 Mills Studios, which are kind of film related. And then we're just coming to the end of our new museum school with Culture And, which is 34-year-long paid traineeships with Magnum Photos, Museum of London, National Trust, and a number of other different employers. Sorry, that's very long, but I'll stop now. Thank you.
No, that was perfect. Thank you very much, Jo. Next, we have Paul, and Paul's from Mind the Gap.
Hi, description about myself. I'm white, got curly hair because I haven't shaved it off yet. Got a beard, bit on the tubby side, and wearing a blue and white striped top with glasses. I'm the assistant producer at Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap's England's largest disabled theatre company. Most recently, our big work that we done was Sarah, and that was a part of the Daughters of Fortune project, which is about learning disability and parenthood. And we worked alongside Walking the Plank and Emergency Exit Art. We had over 100 cast members, community cast members. We worked in the Peace Hall in Halifax and at the Gerald Mary Hemsworth Park in London. And now we've gone digital. We've just done Academy Showcase. Mind the Gap have different training programs. So we have a part-time training program, a full-time training program, totally arts, and the artist. And it's, like we said, we got about over 70 students, including the artist. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, perfect. So I hope people now have a very good understanding of who we have on our lovely panel. And then we're just going to go through some interesting questions that we had on our mind as chair members. I would love to hear the opinions of our panelists. So we were very curious to ask Titi a question. So when I was researching, I was quite surprised to find that it was Coventry who won the prize for City of Culture, because unfortunately something that seems to have stuck with the UK is our north and south divide, which makes equality quite extreme between the two areas of the UK, and making it even harder for young people from the northern regions and from non-main city areas to get into our creative industry. So what are your opinions of how Coventry managed to get this award, and how you think with this award we can finally start addressing some of this north and south inequality?
Yeah, thanks, Julia. Yeah, so that's a good question. So I most of my work has been in London. Even though I was born in Nigeria, most of my kind of life, and I've been blessed to been a part of mentorships and programs myself in London in the arts. So it just made sense to me. You know, a lot of the stuff I do is about supporting young adults, especially into transitioning from either studying or even just having an interest in how they can then go into the arts. And what I've really noticed is that because London's really just blessed with so many kind of arts organisations and theatres and whatever, like just so many, whether it's the bigger ones or the smaller ones. And then compared to Coventry, you've got maybe a couple of the bigger ones that are like MPOs, and you've got smaller. But what I've noticed the difference between, and I'm really happy to be challenged about this, absolutely, because I've only been in Coventry for a year. But what I have kind of noticed is that, so Coventry, for instance, is a working class city, and it's about the same size of Croydon, where I used to live in London, and it's really seeped in community. So you've got the Belgrade Theatre, which is an MPO, and you've got obviously Warwick Arts Centre, and you have got like other smaller theatres, as I said, like Theatre Absolute and stuff like that. And then nearby, obviously, you've got Birmingham Rep, and you've got Leicester. You know, you've got other around that. But it's really about the community. And as we know, that London does get like more funding on the whole, right? It's quite oversaturated, and the Arts Council are really trying to make sure that, especially when it comes to Arts Council, that it's been more divided up into other parts. But I have really noticed that it's really about community, and this is why with COVID and everything, it's been so unfortunate, because even though the government have talked about this 1 point whatever billion, I don't think it's going to really touch the organisations that it really needs to, like a lot of the grassroots organisations that for instance, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those kind of organisations that I kind of fed into, and the mentorship and the time. So what I've noticed is the difference is that with places like Coventry in the Midlands, there are people that are doing the work, but it's about where the funding is being funneled and where that's kind of going to really, because there is a lot more emphasis on partnership, because people just like one organisation, one small kind of grassroots organisation just does not have the connections or whatever. So it's really about partnering and collaborating with others and with like-minded organizations to kind of get the work done. And I think that's the way we should be going anyway, but definitely in the current climate is pooling resources and partnering on funding needs and things like that, because it's those young people, as I said, because Coventry is quite your working class, it's those young people that will tap into that program that the local theatre is doing, or the local and especially where youth centres have completely closed in Coventry. Like there is hardly any like youth centres at all, type of thing. And so the Belgrade, for instance, just an example, is a really amazing organisation that has been able to work with so many young people that may not be traditionally academically minded, or definitely may not have the money to go on to like further training or drama schools or anything like that. So they're the ones that go out into the communities and say, look, this is what we're running, and usually it's free. And I'm just concerned that that may stop. Like the Belgrade, for instance, is one of the organisations that's been hit with redundancies. So I think, as I said, the main difference for me is just how much money still is kind of like in London compared to obviously some of the, and I know, as I said, Coventry is smaller, but that doesn't mean that there isn't talent there, that there isn't, because a lot of young people will go outside of Coventry to study because obviously opportunity, and Coventry want, you know, young people to, you know, feed into the city that they call home, but they're going to Birmingham or London or Manchester or the bigger cities because there's just more opportunity, and that's such a shame, because especially with City of Culture coming in, and the reason why Coventry got the bid is because I think it's and that young people and young adults were really driving the bid as well. And as program manager for young people and youthfulness, it's definitely working on that 18 to 30 young adults, and it is really about, I'm thinking about the strategy and working closely with some of these bigger organisations and the council and the universities and things like that about a legacy, because we're only here for a year. Well, now it was January to December, now it's like May to May because of COVID, but what happens after we've gone, right? And it's really about the legacy and what we're helping young people and young adults, passing the baton on, if you like.
Exactly. Thank you.
You really highlighted. My apologies, Larissa.
No, thank you, Titi. That was really, really interesting. You know, grassroots programs are really, really important, and youth centres are also really, really important. So yeah, thank you for talking about that. I wanted to next go to Tom and ask, do you have any opinions on the Midlands and youth centres and just the difference between kind of art and youth centres and stuff like that in Birmingham or the Midlands in general versus London?
Yeah, I think some points that Titi kind of touched on, fully agree with. The gap between the opportunities differs in comparison to London. I think from a Birmingham and Midlands context, again, just jumping on what Titi was saying, is that you see more partnerships, and there's a lot more like almost like beacons where young people will know to go to, and arts, obviously we know it's very diverse and can have specific kind of things for specific young people. I think in the scene, a lot of things are very central in a sense for young people. So in Birmingham, you've got places like the Rep, as mentioned. We've got the Mac, we've got the Hippodrome that do a lot of stuff. Obviously Beatfreeks quite centered in a lot of things that go on, and there's quite a lot of different things. I probably wouldn't say you get a lot of things where the arts kind of scene is also married with a lot of community as well, but then you are seeing like there's some really great projects that come out of some of those places like the Rep that have come out of there. I think what I hear from a lot of young people is, I think, just want like places of belonging, places to connect, not necessarily just about, oh, I need like somewhere for my career, or how can I thrive as an artist here. I think people are looking for places that give access more than anything, and especially to that group that you might say like that 18 to 30s. It's thinking, where do I need to leave somewhere, or can I find those provisions in Birmingham? And to a degree, there is that. Obviously, in lockdown, that has probably changed a little bit. So yeah, I agree mostly with what Titi said, really.
Yeah, thank you for your response, Tom. So just following this idea of trying to be inclusive and to overcome inequalities that might exist already, we have also Paul from Mind the Gap that I really wanted to ask the question about. So your organisation Mind the Gap is really centred on inclusiveness with those who may be considered disabled. So during this time of COVID, with the additional inequality that comes from internet access, how have you managed to kind of evolve as a company to make sure that everyone that you are working with and can work with will stay with you, to ensure that they don't lose out due to any inequalities of opportunities that may currently exist for them?
So yeah, a major thing that happened was that we were going to be doing our academy showcase, and that was going to be happening at a theatre in Bradford, and unfortunately we couldn't do it. And part of our lessons is that we do music, dance and theatre. We decided that we didn't want to lose that opportunity of doing a showcase. So what we done was we actually took the equipment to our students. So we took the djembes for the music. Our lessons had to go on to online. And yeah, there was problems in that situation. Also around being furloughed at the same time, of where some of the staff were furloughed and then some people weren't furloughed, and how that was going to work. So that was an interesting situation to be in. But what we learned is that with the support, and this is whenever you're working with anyone with disability or without a disability, as long as you have this right support in place, that always helps. And we didn't want to exclude anyone from our lessons. So we had a really good amount of people that our students actually turned up, and some of them were not, before COVID, weren't at all good on computers, and have learned through COVID actually how to learn how to use the computer more. So that was a real interesting time for our students, and I think for our facilitators as well at the same time, because it's a completely new way of learning.
Awesome, brilliant, thank you, Paul. So next we are going to speak to Joe, and I'd really like to talk about the Create Jobs and a new direction, but in particular the Connections program, where you connect talented young people to mentors. And I just want to ask how that program came about. And yeah, I think it's like, yeah, so yeah, I want to talk about a bit about that.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Larice, I do think you're cutting up quite a bit.
Did you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So we have the program is called Meet a Mentor. So the connections part is really around how we connect to industry, and the program name is Meet a Mentor, and it's been running for 4 years now. And it started, my colleague Fran Plowright runs the program, and it started quite small and it's grown and grown, and it's been more and more successful in terms of creating really good outcomes for the young people we've been working with. We pair professionals who are at the top of their game with a young person wanting to get into a similar area, and they meet once a month over the course of 4 months for a couple of hours, and the sessions are very tightly programmed. And we usually bring in an inspirational speaker. So last month we had Stephen Thompson, who is the screenwriter of Sitting in Limbo, which is a BBC drama around Windrush. He talked about his processes. Tonight there's a session with Deepa Keshwala. She's a female DOP who's doing super well, and she's talking about her processes too. It's been really brilliant to see how relationships have evolved, and like not only relationships with mentors and their mentees, but between the peers in the group and the mentors themselves. And there's been lots of interesting connections that have happened as a result of it. We've actually partnered with the Wales Millennium Centre, who we're doing some consultancy for them. So it's interesting talking about kind of moving out regionally. I think the move to Zoom, even though we were nervous about it because we've always done these sessions in real life and it's so much about that kind of magic when people meet each other, it's actually worked really, really well doing the sessions on Zoom, and it's giving us an opportunity to scale up what we're doing, and that's really exciting. So yeah, I think there's the huge move towards kind of remote working and more people moving out of London in the sort of creative sector. So maybe that's going to open things up. Who knows? Yeah, and then just in terms of connecting people to industry, that's what we do throughout our program. So professionals are really involved with the program design and our really kind of intrinsic to the program, and more we're trying to broker paid opportunities post-program so that there's a real tangible outcome for as many of the cohort as possible. But I think once people are in a room or in a Zoom now, but once they're together, there's usually a kind of connection that happens that wouldn't happen otherwise. And yeah, that's what we do. If that makes sense. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, so thank you. I think I was the one who's definitely having problems with tech issues. So Zoom is definitely a new format. So we're running a little bit behind our schedule. So I'm going to start asking some questions a little bit broader and onto. So we've been touching on employing young people from diverse backgrounds in the sector, and we can see that all our members do really engage in that, and especially with changes currently with COVID, we really need to ensure that any changes are for positive, for the positive side of things. So previously we were really talking about grassroots organizations and basically working with the community, ensuring that people have develop the skills and engage in opportunities that really allow them to have a strong foothold into the creative arts that they might otherwise not have. So that question I really wanted to target towards Sarisha and Shanika in how you engage that young people and in the community, and how you think they'll be able to get the opportunities they need to get into and establish themselves in the creative arts industry. So Shanika or Sarisha?
Sarisha, I'll let you go first.
Thanks, that's a great question. Yeah, I think the opportunities that COVID especially have presented, or it's really shaken up the structures that we were all currently working in. And I think it's an opportunity for organisations and institutions to, if they take it, prioritise the needs of young people and facilitating opportunities for employment for young people, with a huge focus on those from underrepresented groups. And I really thought it was interesting what you were saying, Johanna, about brokering paid opportunities post-programme, and I think that's so important for organisations like us who run a talent development programme and other organisations. What happens past the point that the programme finishes, and what we see in, what I personally see in London specifically, there are so many schemes for under 25s, talent development schemes for under 25s, and you see people or participants kind of bounce between them all, and then once they hit 25, what is there? Where are the progression routes past that? And for sustained employment, and I think I know that we're going to get onto it after, about the government scheme for Kickstarters. I think it's 6 months. What happens after the 6 months? Are organisations doing the best they can to create sustainable job roles for young people in the arts, and not just at entry level? Are they kind of creating roles or creating opportunities for development where young people can work, their careers can progress beyond that first year, beyond that first 6 months, into 3, 4, 5 just long-term careers?
Thank you, Sharisha. I think, it's really important to have sustainability when it comes to young people, because I think a lot of programs, it's like 6 months, a year, which is great, but then it's like, and then what? Or it's, a month, and it's like, and then what? So, yeah, I think sustainability is really important.
Yeah,
Shanika,
I would totally agree that I think it needs to be a priority, because having these training programs and making them as accessible as possible to diverse communities is all well and good if you get that cohort, but then what happens afterwards? And for my part, since I've been working at EEA, and actually I'll tell you how that happened. I used it. I said, when I went into my interview, I was like, I am a graduate from one of your training schemes. You need to be doing more to bring people who have come from your training schemes into your workforce. And I like to think maybe that's what swung it. Maybe that's what swung me the job. And that was as a coordinator, which I have moved up now to the creative engagement manager. But I think that's really important, and it meant so much to me that I could go from it was amazing that I was freelancing and was having that opportunity, but it was a more permanent role, as it was part-time, but it meant that the work was regular and that I was able to learn so much from my manager then, Ross Bolwell, to learn so much about this role in a more less delivery capacity and about what it would be like to manage a program. I didn't have those skills before, and it meant so much that they took a chance on training me because I was a graduate. And that's really important to me, that when I see people who have graduated from Creating Roots or from our trainee producer programs, that they are given those opportunities to come on board to learn the skills, so that they can take those skills into other organisations. And I think maybe more can be done from organisations such as us guys that are here today, to network between each other and to see where there are opportunities to recommend trainees that have graduated from our programs to other organisations when there are positions that are available, and other ways that they can actually be getting paid opportunities once they've graduated from our programs.
Can I just add to that? I was about to say, because there are so many training schemes and programs and things like that, and especially for certain types of people, whether that be, you know, Black and Asian and ethnically diverse people or whatever, there's forever training schemes. But then what happens next, right? And I think it's like, you know, when you use the term emerging, like, oh, here's an emerging, for certain people, you will have that label for a very long time, and for other people, not. And so that can also be a hindrance. So I think what Shanika was saying about different organizations connecting more, because you can just, as I said, you can be trained and you can be like, I've done this course, I've done this scheme, I've done this initiative, and still not get anywhere. And for certain groups of people, that's what it is. You know, I was on a training program for 2 years and nothing happened. Do you know what I mean? So I think, and not everybody, and I what was great about my journey is that I had, like with Shanika, so I had like mentors who helped, and great allies actually that did a lot of that door knocking and, you know, for me, because I just was like, I don't have a network, I don't know who to call, or not having the confidence to be able to. And a lot of people, a lot of young adults don't maybe have that confidence or that you know, the know-how to kind of network and be like, hey, this is me, right? And you kind of like need advocates through organizations or through some of those training schemes. So it's great that you've been on this 6-month course thing. Fantastic. Okay, but what next? You know, so I think so I'm agreeing with you, Shanika. I think there's more to that organizations that are running these programs to do between each other. And again, it's like what a lot of us have said about partnership. I'm not saying that you can do it by yourself, absolutely not. So come together more and be like, hang on, we've got these amazing cohort of young people. Let's start talking. Let's start helping them actually get into jobs or apprenticeships, or just that bit further on from a training program.
Exactly, definitely. Do you have any advice, just in general, for young people on how to kind of make our career more sustainable and get our foot into the door and have more permanent roles? And this is for all the panelists.
Yeah, I think the major thing is to make sure that you've got good people that have actually gone through the progression route as well. I just think that for me, I had brilliant mentors along my path. I was always told, oh no, you've got, I'm originally from Dorset and I moved up to Bradford because that was where the opportunity was. So I'm a southerner, so the north-south divide is a really interesting one for me, because I'm the opposite way, where I went from down south where there was no learning disabled companies, or only a small learning disabled company, and then I came to the big learning disabled company in Britain. So, and I went through their training programs. I totally agree with what everyone's saying about what's the next step. And I think you need to make sure that you are speaking to the right people in those organisations, because but also ensure that you see the opportunities that are out there and don't just expect. I mean, a lot of non-disabled people, especially, will be in that their major area where they have lived. They won't travel, but if the right supports in place to help people travel, that works. So yeah.
Yeah. So from everyone's response, we really can see that the priority is making sure that all these training and opportunities are not only are there in place to support the inequalities, but also to ensure that they will go into the future, and the partnerships that we need to look at need to be strong. So we need to look at the individuals themselves, and they'll look for your support, but also for the companies. So one of the support things that has been on the co-chair's mind is the Kickstart program that has been raised by the government to try and basically support part of the pay as people enter the creative arts industry. So we were curious, do you think it will make a difference? Do you think more young people will actually end up being employed, especially with the current 2020 cohort who are receiving their sixth form results and their GCSE results? Do you think that these graduates need to worry about how their results will look like, as this will stay with them as they enter the workforce, with COVID affecting of how and maybe what their grades are worth? And this is open to the whole panel.
Julie, can you just repeat that again? Sorry, I missed part of what you said.
No problem. So the question was, do you think that the Kickstart program will genuinely be able to help and in a sustainable way keep young people in employment in the creative arts industry, gaining a foothold? And also, do you think that these will be able to support the 2020 graduates from schools as their results have been affected by COVID-19, both at the GCSE level, A level, and other sixth form qualifications?
As I say, I always try to be optimistic and not be like, oh, government. I think it could be a something. I think it's short term, because to my knowledge, isn't it? Yeah, is it 6 months, right? So again, I think it's like, okay, this will happen for 6 months, and then what? It's still there, and then what? So I think, as I said, it could be a short term solution to get young adults kind of trained up, skilled, and paid. I think it's minimum wage, and that could be cool for 6 months. But what will happen like afterwards? Have the government really made support with clear pathways and pipelines? If not, if they have, fantastic. Do you know what I mean? So as I said, I'm trying to be hopeful and positive as much as I can be when it comes to the government. But yeah, it'll just be interesting with the what next. And for me, it's always about the what next, because we can, as I said, we've all been saying really, these programs, these schemes, yeah, great, let's get young adults, young people on board. But where's it going? I don't know what anybody else thinks. I'm really trying to be positive.
I would say that young people with their grades, that's not necessarily what arts organisations are looking for. It's commitment, it's passion, it's lived experience. If they've tried out a few things, those are the kind of things that I'm looking for when I'm thinking about people that I want to work with. So I wouldn't say that is necessarily a worry. I think the scheme, yeah, after the 6 months, what's going to happen then? I think it might help in that it might relieve a little bit of the financial strain for organisations who have that commitment and want to diversify their workforce and have young people to work with them. And while everyone's kind of getting back on their feet and working out what the new normal is, it might be a bit of a relief on that. And then we do need to do the work. We need to fulfill these promises that we're making. If we're saying we want to diversify our workforce after those 6 months, we need to keep those opportunities going. We need to keep those roles open for young people that we've taken on. So I think hopefully it will help us to be able to do that, but then we've got to take up the work and carry it on.
Okay, so this is actually from the chat, and the question is to the panelists. So how have young people who have been involved with the mentorships, how have you found it? And Shanika, you touched on it a bit before, but do you think that was maybe one of the most paramount thing that kind of swayed you in favor for your role in to actually get the role in EEA? And this is open to everyone as well.
Well, hopefully it showed them that I was committed, because I'd graduated from the course, and I definitely used it in my interview, and I was like, guys, I did your scheme, you should definitely be letting me come and work for you. And I would suggest that you guys do that too. You guys maintain those relationships with people that you did those schemes with, those organizations. Maintain those relationships so that you can be like tapping on them, like, what's going on, let us know, link us up with other opportunities. But yeah, I'll let someone else add to that.
Yeah, I'm exactly like Shanika. I kind of went for the mentorship scheme on Sarah, whereas the trainee assistant producer, to becoming the assistant producer of the company. And I think it was literally a bit like, look, I'm here. I'm one of Britain's only learn disabled producers out there, and we're a learn disabled company. Come on, let's make sure that we're saying what's on the tin, kind of thing. So, and yeah, I'm definitely a bit like Shanika on that. Definitely use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I guess for us, our mentoring program has led to quite a lot of roles. So kind of quite tangible outcomes, like Red Bull in the face and Channel 4. So it has got quite yeah, it's been successful for us in those terms. And I think just generally it's a reciprocal benefit for both the young person and the professional who comes on board, because they learn a lot from each other during the process. And often it's kind of like reverse mentoring as well.
I think from our perspective, we range from like opportunity for mentorship styled kind of initiatives on relationships, but then we also work on national kind of fronts where we're engaging like a mass group of young people. So I guess my answer is in that recognizing that not everybody can get mentored and will get that opportunity, which sometimes is just the reality of how it looks. However, I guess there's two things really. Those who do get those close relationships with those organisations, I definitely echo what everyone said. Whether you recognise that you're being mentored or not, if you've got those close relationships, leverage it. I was saying to a group that's just finished a programme, you have access that is just unmeasurable compared to many who might have just a one encounter. So if you know somebody by name or you can contact, don't be afraid to do it, which has already been said. But for those who might not feel like they actually have the opportunity to be mentored, or they're not in that space at the moment where it doesn't feel like that, but you are engaging with an organisation or interacting in a project and things like that, recognise that there is access as well, and don't be afraid to ask and see what the next opportunities are, because sometimes it's linked through other opportunities. I think that also what I would say from our perspective, what we try to do is make sure that there's representation in almost like a board level from young people's perspectives, because that is for us that is an easier way to hear what young people are saying. So we have a youth board set up, a few youth boards set up, but our main one for our company, and we go to them first. So for someone like Shanika, hopefully there's someone on that board that would have been like, Tom, I get what you're saying, but I did this last year and nobody paid attention. Oh, okay, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm going to action that, and I'm going to hold that to account. So there is definitely the side of using relationships, but there's also the importance of having that representation, having an advisory group or a steering group or a board or a set dedicated group of young people that you can turn to that actually keeps you in check and holds you to account on those things.
Brilliant. Just quickly before we go, Sarisha, do you have any anything you want to say? Any final words?
Yeah, just kind of to echo what everyone else has said, but also mentorship doesn't always have to be a formal process. You don't have to be part of a scheme or a program to get mentored or to be a mentor. I kind of have learned so much off of friendships that I've made. I didn't realize that it was kind of, they were mentoring me, but it wasn't. We're just friends, and I'm asking them kind of questions about their job or questions about my job or that kind of thing. So just use your existing networks if you have them, your friends, people that you know have been through programs already. If you have an existing relationship with an organization, like, that's great, but if you don't, also don't worry about that. I know personally, but also everyone else that can work support in the city, and I'm sure all our colleagues here are so open to just being contacted and asked a few questions, or having a virtual coffee these days for half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. So there's that way as well, and you don't have to worry about kind of applying and getting onto schemes in a more formal process. Think of mentoring just as like friends. Yeah, we're friends.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarisha. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for in our finale lockdown webinar. A special thank you to all the wonderful panelists for providing such thoughtful and valuable advice. A massive thank you to everyone that's attended. And yeah, we hope conversations like these can be inspiring and can facilitate great change. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last in this series, but let us know if you really enjoyed our webinars, and maybe we'll think of something to bring back later on in the year. Hit us up on social media and let us know what you think at EEA.
And on EEA, all of our panelists' names and their links to their respective organisations are there as well. So if you didn't get a chance to ask your question through that, please contact them through those channels. And keep safe, guys.